Hello and welcome to the Albion Obsessed podcast. We're going to Wembley. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Brighton and Hove Albion have booked their tickets to the semi-final of the FA Cup for the second time in 4 years. It's like waiting for a bus. You wait for hours at a time and then two come along at once, but instead of buses, it's FA Cup semi-finals. But before we get into our analysis of the game against Grimsby Town, let's see who we're going to chat to tonight. We welcome Joe. Joe, my friend, how are you doing?
Bloody wonderful. I apologise to headphone users for Tom's intro. If you've just woken up and you're listening to us in the morning, that's given you a good boost for the day. Yeah, I'm doing great. I had an amazing time on Sunday. Yesterday it was, bloody hell. I met loads of people who wanted these wonderful things. Albion Obsessed stickers. If you do see me around the Amex or even at Wembley, I'm going to be bringing tons of these, and let's take over Wembley with these. Let's just stick them everywhere. But yeah, all good, mate, and I'm absolutely buzzing.
Fantastic. I hope to see many pictures of those stickers on Wembley Way. We also welcome Chloe. Chloe, my friend, how are you keeping?
I'm absolutely buzzing, mate. Yeah, brilliant. So excited to go to Wembley. Just can't wait.
What exciting times it is to be a Brighton fan. Not only are we going to Wembley for our second semi-final, as I say, in about 4 years, we're also fighting for Europe. This is unprecedented times for Brighton fans. And I'm going to start off tonight's episode with the question, Joe. Would you rather get to the FA Cup final or get to Europe?
That is not a fair question. That
I
really
don't
isn't.
care.
To bring that on me like that, Tom, that is not
Consider it
fair.
sprungeth.
Now, before we started recording, I just told Chloe that I woke up from the power nap of all power naps because I was up at 20 to 6 this morning and I want to go to bed. And this is a lot of thinking, Tom, and I don't like it. I'm going to say I would rather get to the FA Cup final because there's still a chance that we could get Europe if we win it. And I think the occasion would be unbelievably special. And as I say, there's still the chance that we could qualify for Europe via the FA Cup. So, yeah, don't at me. And it's the second trip to Wembley in the same season. But, yeah, I don't know. Chloe didn't look like she agreed with me.
Chloe, what are your thoughts on this? FA Cup final or Europe?
Europe, I think. If it was winning the FA Cup or qualifying for Europe via the league, I would definitely go for the cup. But yeah, I do think I would rather qualify for Europe than just get to the final because that would be sensational.
It really would. Don't get me wrong. I think reaching an FA Cup final would be fantastic. Winning it, 10,000%. But just getting to the final, I'd take Europe personally. Let us know in the comment section down below what you would rather. Of course, both would just be pretty wonderful. But as a Brighton Hove Albion fan, I've come not to expect too much. Humble as always. And talking of humble, Joe, when we drew Grimsby in the cup, I was very much of the case of I didn't want to think that it was a job done before we'd even set foot on the pitch. I know a lot of people, rightly or wrongly, were saying, "Oh, we're going to Wembley," before a kick had been played. Was there any part of you, Joe, that was somewhat, I don't know, not skeptical? Skeptical is the wrong word. Hesitant, shall we say, to book your train tickets to London already?
It sort of happened backwards for me, Tom. When we drew Grimsby, I was like, that's it, we're going to Wembley. Like, I'm so excited. That's going to be like the second Wembley trip in 4 years. I never thought I would get to see my football club at Wembley, whether that be via the playoffs because they were cursed, whether that be in the FA Cup, which it has been both times. I grew more nervous the closer the game got because it was becoming real to me what the result would mean. And that meant the same for both sets of fans and for both clubs. So you always wonder with the FA Cup whether that incentive is going to boost the team that you're playing against, no matter where they are. whether they're a non-league team, whether they're League Two, League One, whatever. So I was probably the most nervous I've been at the Amex for as long as I can remember, maybe. But when the draw was made, I was like, yeah, we're going to Wembley. There's no doubt. But obviously, Brighton never, ever, ever do it the easy way. You would maybe argue that we did do it the easy way, winning 5-0, but at times in the first half, it didn't look like we were going to do it easily. But yeah, as I say, I grew more sceptical the closer we got.
Very good. Chloe, what was your initial, pardon me, what was your initial reaction to drawing Grimsby at home in the Cup? I mean, Grimsby, let's be fair to them, knocked out high-flying Plymouth, who are, doing really well in League One, knocked out Luton, I believe, as well, and Southampton. I mean, Southampton, yeah, they're a struggling Premier League outfit, but let's not kid ourselves. They should, in theory, still have the quality of players to beat Grimsby. What was your initial response to sort of getting Grimsby? Were you just rubbing your hands together thinking, oh yeah, this is the best draw we could have possibly hoped for?
Yeah, I was sort of like, I really, really want to go to Wembley, so I really, really hope we win. And we should win. But it's Brighton, so I'm not gonna count my chickens before they've hatched, so to speak. And yeah, just leading up to the game, I was really nervous. Just thinking. Once the game started and we scored quite early on, I was definitely, that sort of got rid of all my nerves. But yeah, I was just thinking. But then they are League Two, and them knocking out two sort of Premier League sides in a row, that would have really been something. And I sort of thought, I can't see that happening realistically. So yeah.
The magic of the FA Cup is a wonderful thing. We just hoped that the FA Cup magic wasn't going to see us go out. I saw a really brilliant tweet before the game even started. It was a play on the Mitchell and Webb sketch where they're in Nazi uniforms and they look at each other and go, "Are we the baddies?" And that was us yesterday. We were the baddies, because everyone, I'm sure, all the neutrals would have been hoping, praying for a Grimsby win for the magic of the FA Cup, but it was not to be. For what it's worth.
I got told off on 5 Live this morning for ruining the magic of the FA Cup. So that was fun.
Nice being told off on live radio. Yeah, I mean, just for what it's worth, after our being knocked out of the Carabao Cup by Charlton, recalling, playing extra time against Newport, being knocked out by then non-league Lincoln City, I was very sort of, again, very cautious to get too excited. As Chloe says, it's a game that you would hope that Brighton would win, that they should win, especially with how we're doing at the moment under Roberto De Zerbi. So I was a bit cautious, but as Chloe rightfully says, within the first sort of 5 minutes, my caution had disappeared. Really quickly then, Joe, I mean, it was a strong starting 11 that faced Grimsby Town. De Zerbi has gone very strong in the Cups. Sanchez coming back in for Steele, who seems to be being preferred in the league now. And then not very many changes in terms of the personnel that you would perhaps expect to see. Pascal Gross slotting in a more of a right back role for Joel Veltman. But otherwise, it was a Premier League starting 11, was it not? I mean, only Undav perhaps hasn't started in the league this season. So what did you make of the starting 11 that Roberto De Zerbi put out yesterday?
I think just touching on Pascal, when he's put in that role, when it, as I can't remember who pointed out, I think Curtis pointed out, it looked more like a 3 with Estupinian, Dunk and Webster. That role for Pascal is more like a freedom role. He just pops up literally everywhere, all over the pitch. But yeah, he was occupying that area. And I love that Roberto De Zerbi gives Pascal that sort of license to just drift in wherever the team needs him at whatever time. And that goes to prove just how good Pascal Gross is for the team. He can literally slot in anywhere. Dennis Undav, I was probably thinking would start, and I was surprised to see a 4-4-2 sort of look at when I looked at the names. Obviously, it looked different on the pitch to that. And I thought it was really important that Roberto De Zerbi named a really strong side and took this game very seriously, because it was clear that Grimsby were going to. I feel like if we did name a rotated 11, that it would have been sort of disrespectful to the competition, because this was a place or a moment where we could achieve something really special. And to underestimate Grimsby would have been the worst thing we could have done, and we didn't do that. We named a really strong lineup, and I was really happy with it.
How did you feel about the starting 11, Chloe? As I say, Roberto De Zerbi has gone very strong in the cups, which has been fantastic to see. Were there any surprises for you?
No, not really. Very strong team, which made me very happy to see we were taking it seriously. And obviously, it's a chance, to try and get a trophy, maybe. So you do have to take these games seriously, especially at this stage in the competition. So yeah, I was quite pleased with the team, and yeah.
I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, I was a little bit surprised how strong it was. I think that I only had one other change, and I would have started Colwill personally. I know he came in at the second half. I would have started Colwill personally, just to give him that match sharpness because of his injury. But as I say, he came on in the second half, and that's the only change I perhaps would have made. But it doesn't really matter, because I thought Adam Webster actually had a really, really good game. It didn't take long, Joe, did it, for Brighton to get on the score sheet? And for me, that was really important, because I was almost envisioning a game of, Grimsby backs to the wall. Their back five was sat really deep at times all throughout the game. And I was dreading, the longer the score stayed at 0-0, the worse it would get, the worse the nerves would become. But thankfully, it didn't take long. Moises Caicedo has a shot which the Grimsby keeper spills, and Undav is alert, and he tucks away the rebound. Fantastic opening goal, 5-6 minutes from the start. Joe, what did you make of it? I know were you in the North Stand yesterday?
I was in the North Stand, yeah.
So how did it view from all that distance?
Didn't really know what was going on, to be honest. I'm so sort of low down in the stands that when it's down that end, you sort of just have to guess where the ball is. You can't really see the lines. So I just saw Undav sort of burst through, and the net sort of bulge, and everyone was celebrating. And I said to my dad before the game that the key to this game was an early goal for us, because, as you say, Tom, if it did go on 0-0, it gives Grimsby more belief. It puts in their minds that we do have a really good chance here. And I think we killed off any sort of magic of the FA Cup really with that goal, because after that goal we were pretty comfortable. I can't really remember many moments where they really threatened us. Every time they did flood forward, we just dealt with it as if it was a training match, to be honest. And I think that was really good to show our class like that, and to control the game and to be calm. And all of our players knew exactly what they were doing. And that had to be so rigid, because Grimsby could have easily poked through and broke through our back line and got a counter attack away. So it was good that we were that rigid and got that goal early, so we could sort of open up a few more spaces, which we did do.
Yeah, we certainly did. I mean, Chloe, really quickly, just in regards to that first goal, scored by Dennis Undava, who, as I say, was alert to the goalkeeper spilling it. All the Grimsby defenders stood still, and he was the one that was there to tuck that away. Undav has found his chances somewhat limited this season, but surely a good boost for his confidence to score an early goal in such an important match, albeit against a League Two opposition.
Yeah, I mean, he was running in before the keeper even spilled that, which is really good to see from a striker sort of on his toes. Even if it, you like to see them running in like that. I don't know about Undav. Sometimes he looks all right, and then other times he looks a bit. I don't know if he just maybe needs another loan out or something before being ready for a sort of a top half Premier League side, shall we say. But I do think he will come good, but whether he needs a loan or something first is possible.
Yeah, I mean, you said, Joe, at the start about it looking like a 4-4-2. And I mean, I don't know what it looked like to you guys that were in the stands. On the television, it very much looked like our usual sort of one out and out striker, and then it looked like Undav was playing just off of Ferguson, and I thought he did that role quite well. I mean, we'll talk about it a bit later, but he got an assist as well, instrumental in setting up the second goal as well. So, Joe, do you think perhaps playing in a more number 10 style role or supporter role might be more of a future for Dennis Undav whilst at Brighton and Hove Albion?
I think it's hard to say, given that, and this is all respect to Grimsby, it is that it was playing against a lower league opposition. I think Roberto De Zerbi could utilise his players in different areas where he thought they might be useful. I mean, they're all Premier League players, so to play against a League Two side, you could probably try them in different areas and see what they can do. You got a bit more freedom, I guess. I'm not sure. I think Dennis Undav for his whole career has been that out and out scorer, a goal scorer. So I'm not sure he would like to take that career path. I think exactly what Chloe says. I think he needs maybe that extra loan deal somewhere, even in the Championship, to sort of make him find his feet in English football and then come back and see what he can do for us. I really do. I like his attitude. I like how professional he's been, waiting for his chance. And I would love to see him do well in a Brighton shirt. I really would. And you know, it's stiff competition, which I find absolutely mad, saying that we've got stiff competition in the striking roles at the moment with Danny Welbeck and Evan Ferguson ahead of him. So I think he finds himself in the most competitive battle for the striker spot that we've seen for a while.
Yeah, that's a really good point, to be fair. I mean, who would have predicted 6 months ago that Evan Ferguson would be the player he is now? And he's just below me there. He's looking very awesome and very happy. And who can blame him? Now, Chloe, we will talk about the first half chances that Brighton had, because there were many. But there were two rather scary moments in that first half that had me having my heart in my mouth. And the first of which was a back pass from Lewis Dunk. And oh my God, I was screaming at the telly because I genuinely thought Sanchez wasn't going to get back. What was the view in the stands? Because I could not make head nor tail of why Lewis Dunk would try such a thing.
Yeah, it was a bit scary. It was sort of a what the hell is he doing sort of moment. Very relieved when Sanchez actually got to it. And he did all right with it, but first that was a nervous few seconds when it's like, is he trying to score for Grimsby? But
he does love an own goal in the cup, does our Lewis.
All's well that ends well. And yeah, obviously Sanchez got to it.
Yeah, I mean, Chloe, just really quickly. I mean, again, I appreciate it's very different from on the TV than it is in the stands. I've said that before, and I'll say it again. There was a few moments in the first half, especially when Brighton were doing their usual playing it around the back. And there was a few times when the Brighton defenders were playing it back to Sanchez. And the commentator mentioned that there were some oohs and ahs from Brighton fans about the ball being played back to Sanchez. Did you hear much of that in the stands? Because I would just be interested to see or to hear from you if that was actually the case, or whether the commentator was talking out of his backside, as it were.
Oohs and ahs.
Yeah, a bit sort of like, and not very confident in, Sanchez getting the ball. A bit of a, oh God, Sanchez is getting the ball to his feet. Any of that?
I can't say that I heard that, to be honest, really.
Interesting. Yeah, the commentator was sort of like, oh, the Brighton fans don't seem very confident. Joe, did you get any of that sort of like where you were sat?
I think there were a couple of moments where Sanchez maybe should have caught the ball rather than clearing it, or should have done a little bit better in some areas, but I don't think there was any constant oohs and ahs when he received the ball. This guy's been our Premier League number one for 2.5 seasons, or however long it is. I can't even remember when he broke onto the scene. 1.5 seasons, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I'm always confident when Sanchez in goal. I don't think one moment defines a goalkeeper. And yeah, maybe there were some questions of, what's Sanchez mentality going to be like coming in the cup, playing Grimsby? Yes, he always looked so relaxed, but that's Robert Sanchez's demeanour. He's always looked that way. He's always acted that way. It's nothing new to Brighton fans to see Robert Sanchez acting so calm and collected. So, no, he was talking out of his bum.
Well, there it goes to show you then, guys, that sometimes the commentary that you get on the telly box isn't always a fair reflection to what is happening in the stands. However, I can guarantee you, Joe, that you were perhaps not as confident when it appeared that Rob Sanchez had gathered the ball outside the box. And I remember watching it in the moment, and I'm not entirely convinced that the ball was on the line. I know Rob Sanchez's foot was on the line, but I'm not convinced that they got that one right. I mean, I appreciate it. Sanchez's back was to you, the fans in the north, but did we get away with one there?
I think so. I think because his foot was in the way that VAR couldn't come to a conclusive decision, and therefore they couldn't go back to the referee and say, "Yeah, you need to look at that again," or "Yeah, this is what we found." So I think we're just very lucky with Sanchez's leg placement, to be honest, because from the angles that I saw, really not convinced. And yeah, you can maybe say we got away with one there, but whether that would have made a difference, I don't know. But give Grimsby a bit more belief playing against 10, but yeah, big let off.
Huge. As I say, I'm not entirely convinced that that was the right call myself. But, que sera, sera, as they say. That were the only two moments really of the first half where anything sort of scary happened in terms of defensive. The only other scary things that were happening were at the other end of the pitch, Chloe, where Brighton had chance after chance after chance. None of them seemed to be hitting the target or looking like they were going to go in. I mean, the half ended at 1-0. What was your feeling at halftime, Chloe? Were you convinced by the first half performance, or did you feel like Brighton needed to step it up a gear?
Yeah, I wasn't overly happy with it. I mean, we were winning, so it's not like I could really complain, but I was really sort of hoping for a few more goals, and said to my parents, De Zerbi's not going to be happy with that first half display, because we just weren't, what's the word, convincing enough, I don't think. We should have really maybe had a couple more goals. And I think the second half was much improved, to be honest.
Oh, it certainly was. Joe, just gather your thoughts in regards to that first half performance. Comfortable, but slightly at the same time uncomfortable, just in the the inability to add, perhaps when we should have done.
Yeah, my dad's got a friend that's a Grimsby fan, and he was talking to us about or talking to my dad before the game about the Southampton game, and he was just very worried about the second half that they were going to trail off, and not be able to sort of keep up with, because obviously we have so much possession, we're passing the ball left and right, and we're wearing them out. And I think we did that perfectly in the second half. And I was always confident that we were going to get a lot more chances. I don't know what the stats were. I don't know what the possession was, but it must have been a substantial amount. And that just wore them down in the end. And I was always confident that would happen. I would have liked it to have been more. Obviously, Matoma had the sitter that he missed. It was harder probably for him to miss than to score. But it's just one of those things that just doesn't go for you at the time. But yeah, as I say, always confident that we will come out and keep creating the chances, because we do that week in, week out in the Premier League, create so many chances. So it wasn't an issue for me that we were not going to be able to do that against the League Two side, with all due respect to them.
Yeah, I think the only thing that caused me a certain level of concern was just because, as I said, I thought we got away with one in regards to Rob Sanchez. And that's at 1-0 up, because we did have a myriad of chances before that event even occurred. At 1-0 up, you go down to 10 men, anything can happen. Look at Fulham. They capitulated in a fantastic way. And Manchester United came back in. I mean, Obviously, different situation because it's a Premier League side versus a Premier League side, but you can just never tell. And if you're 1-0 up, and then they somehow get a lucky break and they score, you just never know how it's going to go. But as Chloe has alluded to, I mean, the second half started very similarly in the way that the first half did. We scored very early. I mean, moments before that, Undav skied a shot from about 10 yards, but it didn't take long at all for Brighton to be right outside the Grimsby penalty area again. And McAllister finds Ferguson with an absolute beauty of a ball, and Ferguson's touch was phenomenal. The audacity of an 18-year-old man to try that and to succeed was absolutely sublime. And he said afterwards that it was luck. And I was like, nah, you that's not luck. You make your own luck. That's pure skill. And Glenn Murray in the studio was absolutely gushing over Evan Ferguson. I mean, Chloe, what a lovely way to make it 2-0. What a goal.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Ferguson is just such a player already. I can't believe he's only 18. He plays like a sort of in his prime striker, really. I don't think he's got many weaknesses. And yeah, the way he controlled that ball, and it was the one where he spun. Did he spin? Yeah, and shot. And that was just, it was such a good finish. And yeah, really happy to now. Come on.
Makes the game a lot more comfortable, and I think it makes the fans feel a bit more relaxed. The players feel a bit more relaxed because they've got that little bit of a buffer. And we almost added a third Joe moments later. It was a lovely break. March squares it to Ferguson, who looked like he had got his brace, but it was disallowed from a March offside. Now, Aaron in our group chat was like, "Yeah, he's miles off." But in the replay, it was literally like teeny tiny. When you guys were in the stands, what was your view on that? Was it clear and obvious? Or was I just being blind?
I think you're always going to be worried when you score a goal at the moment with VAR, and you do see that the player is on the last defender, because there's always that chance that their shirt is too big for them and it's offside. Yeah, I looked at the replays back, and I'm not sure how Aaron's saying it's miles off. Maybe it looked miles off when it was in full motion. So I can see that, because when it's going at full speed, it might look like Solly's sort of overshot his run a little bit. But when that sort of tape is stopped and you see just how much that was offside, I think it was maybe his big toe. So I think really unlucky. That would have been a really nice goal. But yeah, can't complain.
No, especially considering how many goals we scored after that. I think that was again, there was very few moments in the second half that were particularly nervy at the other end. However, there was one moment where Grimsby managed to get their first shot of the game. They did a fantastic break, fair play to them, a long ball over the top. Webster's touch was heavy and the ball fell to a Grimsby player, but Sanchez was able to claw the ball away in midair. Chloe, I mean, we've spoken already about Sanchez, about his potential handling outside the box, jogging back to get that Lewis Dunk back pass. But an important stop, an important save that needed to be made, that will do his confidence a world of good, because, you know, being dropped when you've been the first choice for such a long time must have hit him quite hard, although he probably doesn't show it.
Yeah, it was a great save. He's really good at saves like that. When he's sort of jumping across his goal. And it was just a sort of phew he saved that. Because he is a very good keeper. And I do think I've lost my trail of thought there. And yeah, he did well there. That's what I'm going to say.
Do you think, Chloe, that there is a way back for Sanchez into the Premier League first team? Because, as you say, he's a fantastic shot stopper, really tall, really commanding in his box. What do you think he needs to do to show Roberto De Zerbi that he is ready to come back into the Premier League? For him, is it more of a distribution thing?
I'm not too sure. What I always used to like about Sanchez was how he claimed it from corners. Recently, I just don't know if it's a confidence thing, or maybe even he needed the sort of competition of still. but he just hasn't been as good lately at things like that, I feel. And yeah, so and Steele's distribution I definitely feel was better as well. But then I remember last season against United, that fantastic ball from Sanchez for one of those goals. So he can do it. Just I think I'm not too sure what he needs. He is quite young for a goalkeeper still, isn't he? So maybe in time he'll be back to being our number one. He just needs to get a bit more experience, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it must be quite tricky, as you say. He's still quite a young lad, and that Manchester United ball. I mean, we had a lovely time on that podcast discussing Sanchez's balls, and it was hilarious. But yeah, he's obviously for one moment at the moment in time, Roberto De Zerbi prefers Steele, and I'm sure that we'll see Robert Sanchez back in the Premier League starting 11 very, very soon. We've still got 3 goals to talk about. My goodness. Let's talk about the Ferguson second goal then, Joe, because it was a bit of a mix-up at the back for Grimsby. Undav, again, alert to the loose ball that he finds at his feet, slots it through to Ferguson. And Undav, Joe, is celebrating before the ball even hits the back of the net. I loved that. Absolutely loved it. And Ferguson puts it past the keeper to finally get his brace. Some fantastic interplay by the front two there, Joe. Did you just love to see the confidence of Undab knowing that his teammate would bury that?
Oh God, yeah. And for him to bag an assist as well has done his confidence a world of good. And for him to know that Ferguson's going to score, like there was still like maybe 2 or 3 touches that Ferguson had to take before he even took the shot away. So yeah, it's great to see, and that was an emphatic finish. Ferguson just burst into the box, and the net was bulging, and we were on our way to Wembley. So I think even at 2-0, there's still, Brighton fans are listening to this. At 2-0, you're still not comfortable. And as soon as that third went in, I think the party started, to be honest, and the dream was realised. And I started picturing walking down Wembley Way and seeing the blue and white flags, and it's going to be a really special day, Tom, and I really, really can't wait for it. Yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing.
Chloe, was it the third goal that cemented for you that, yeah, we're through now, we're through?
Probably. To be honest, even when we were like 4-0 up, I'm still looking at the clock, because that's just me. I'm still thinking, what if, I don't know how they would have come back from that, to be honest, because they'd have to score 5 goals in like 10 minutes. But I'm always worrying. I'm just a warrior. So
Thing is,
but I do think after 3, realistically, we were going to win, but because I worry about everything, I was still a little bit worried, but I was sort of like, yeah, realistically, we've won. But
yeah, as I say, like we're Brighton fans. We've been through the ringer. We've been on this long journey where things have been lost like that, and yeah, you sort of think to yourself afterwards, how on earth did we do that? I mean, take the championship season where we got promoted. It seemed easier to win the title than to balls it up, and yet still we balls it up.
Why, Tom? Why did you bring that up?
yeah, I'm still annoyed about that.
Not in this podcast.
It's called perspective and it's called context, because as a Brighton fan, you could never be truly sort of comfortable, I feel. And I said it before, like I know when end of last season when we were beating Man United 4-0, I was still like, I still want another 2 goals before I start feeling like this is a done deal.
What, a 4-0? You were,
yeah.
Fair play.
Mate, I mean, that's what it takes for me to feel confident and comfortable, because I've seen it all. Well, maybe not all, but you know what I mean. So let's talk, Joe, about a first team debut that happened yesterday, because it wasn't just goals galore. There were some important little things we saw there, and that was Yasin Ayari getting his first team debut, coming on, the young Swedish lad that we brought in January transfer window, comes on, and Joe, he tries to score a worldie within the first 2 minutes of being on the pitch. I mean, blimey. I best call him RDZ then. Roberto De Zerbi has said that he thinks that he is the second coming of McAllister. Future's bright for this young lad.
Yeah, I'll take that comment for sure. And to have the confidence to try and your first touch be an overhead kick in front of the North Stand, you would have written yourself as an instant Albion hero, whether that be against Grimsby, whether that be against a pub team, whether that be against anyone. And so, fair play to him. It was hard to make a full judgment considering the level of opposition we were playing. Again, there's with all due respect, but obviously looking at the table, you sort of think that's probably the best game for him to come into, to sort of find his feet, sort of get a feel for the team, for the surroundings. And I was really, really happy for him to come on, and I thought he played really, really well. Like after the attempted bicycle kick, I thought he was linking up play beautifully, looked really lively, really energetic, and so I look forward to seeing what he can do for us.
Chloe, what did you make of young Yasin Ayari? Apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. And what did you make of his debut for Brighton? Do you agree with Joe that this was probably the best game to see him brought on, and perhaps that's why we didn't see the likes of Buonanotte, who are perhaps a bit further ahead of him in the pecking order?
Yeah, I mean, it's just sort of when you're 3-0 up against a League Two side, there's no real pressure, is there? So he can just play the way he wants to, and I do think he had a very good performance, and yeah, he's definitely one to watch out for in the future. I think he'll be a very good player.
Yeah, young lad certainly gave a really good account of himself, and we look forward to keeping our eyes on him because I think he'll do well. A loan perhaps in next season would do him the world of good. So, Joe, it wouldn't be a Brighton game these days without talking about your boy Solly March, who did a very un-Solly March thing, and that was he scored with his head, and not just at his head, he scored with a diving header, something we haven't seen for a while. Solly March did Solly March things. Solly March, Joe. Solly March. Tell us about Solly March.
You've said it all, Tom. My dad is convinced that Solly March has scored another header this season. He was round today and he said, "I'm sure he scored another header." I can't put my finger on what goal that was.
Was it the Leicester? He didn't get accredited to it, but he did. Was it perhaps the Leicester one?
Possibly.
Where he forced was it Chelsea where he forced the own goal? There was one
Possibly.
where I think back post, and we thought it was March, but then it was accredited.
Or was that
an own
was
goal.
that Leeds?
No, he did get given Leeds, and that was
he got given the Leeds. Okay. No, Leeds at home. Possibly.
Oh no, I think Leeds at home was gross.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Solly March did Solly March things. Like I keep coming on this podcast and talking about Solly March. We spoke about him at the start of the season. We spoke about him in pre-season. Everyone was like, "Oh, you can't go off of that. You can't go off of that. It's only pre-season." But he has had one of the best seasons I've ever seen from a Brighton player in the top flight in the Premier League. Easily. He's been so influential. He's been like even in the first part of the season under Graham Potter, we saw what he could do this season. And we've spoken so many times that Roberto De Zerbi's come in and changed him completely. He singled him out when he came in, said he was a Champions League player. And that is just like, imagine a manager, Solly's probably not really kept him.
I'm sorry, John, I'm going to have to stop you there because Gary on North Stand chat tells me he's League One at best.
Well, Gary on North Stand chat, he needs to see someone because that is not the case. Yeah, I mean, imagine like obviously Solly. I don't know how much you knew about Roberto De Zerbi beforehand, but for a manager to come in and to have singled you out as you're going to be my sort of main attacking threat, you're going to be the guy I'm going to put my arm around, and I'm going to turn you into the player that you should be. It's just the boost that he needed, and we see that scoring a header. That doesn't happen often. Walks it into the box. He's making so many decent runs. His intelligence for the game it seemed to increase as well, and I'm totally here for it. And let's hope that he ends the season as our top scorer. That would be a very nice middle finger to the Solly March doubters.
It certainly would. And Albion Obsessed listeners and viewers, if you can recall the goal that Joe's dad is referring to, please drop it in the comments below. I am certain it was the own goal, but I can't remember if that was Leicester. I think it was Leicester. But yeah, let us know in the comment section below, because perhaps your memories are better than ours. And Chloe, we rounded it off by scoring another Matoma, who had his usual energetic game, as Joe's already alluded to, missed a sitter in the first half, but did his usual wonderful Matoma things. Made it 5 with a deflected shot that took it past the goalkeeper. A nice boost to the confidence of the Albion fans and the Albion team. Just a nice way to round off the day.
Yeah, I thought, oh, it's 5 now. I can relax now. But seriously, yeah, I think 5-0 was just a sort of scoreline I was hoping for. Just giving a really good show of ourselves, and Matoma again getting a really nice goal. I thought Sarmiento had it initially because he was there, but yeah, watching the replays, it was just deflected off one of their defenders. But yeah, it was a really nice shot. And Matoma, I always feel is just really good at making decisions, like whether to pass it or whether to shoot. I always feel like he's got a really good head, and knows what to do in these positions.
Yeah, it's that footballing intelligence, and we've got two very intelligent wingers that just seem to know what to do and when to do it. And I don't know if that's natural ability or if it's coaching or it's a mixture of both. But long may it continue. I mean, it almost Matoma almost made it 6-0 at the death with, I think it was the last kick of the game, inches wide. But no, it was we can't ask for too much, can we? 6-0's a bit much. But no, it ended 5-0, and it was one of those games where at no point did I feel too uncomfortable. Maybe in the first half, felt a bit sort of like, well, we could do with getting another one here. But generally speaking, a nice, comfortable performance from the Albion, which takes us through, as we've all said, to the semi-final, which will be played at Wembley. Joe, really strong performance. I'd like to get your man of the match, please.
Yeah, just before I do that, now viewers mostly viewers because you can see us. Now Tom always has 2 shirts behind him and wears a shirt, so he's got 3 shirts. And normally there's a theme to the shirts. Tom, is there a theme to your shirts? Don't tell me what it is, because I'm going to ask the viewers to guess the theme.
There is, but it's not as good as I'd like it to be.
Oh.
Different sponsor, same shirt, different sponsor, no sponsor.
Okay, so if you like a guessing game and you get that, you would have won life. So yeah, guess down below if you know what Tom's theme is. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen to your audio platforms, go to YouTube and have a look at Tom's shirts. They're very nice.
I can just tell you which shirts they are.
No.
Oh, okay.
I want them to guess. What did you ask me?
I could tell you what shirts they are for the audio.
Right, okay.
So
okay, yeah, no, do that.
I'm currently wearing this season's shirt. Behind me, I have got the 1983 Phoenix Brewery pinstripe shirt, which is my favorite shirt of all time. And I also have the 1991 Ribeiro TSB sponsored Chew It wrapper shirt. However, as I say, if you imagine the Phoenix Brewery shirt without the sponsor and the TSB shirt with a different sponsor, maybe a whiteboard sponsor, I think it was instead, and this season shirt, hopefully that should give you enough of a clue. But if you can't remember what I just asked Joe, listeners, it was to name them his man of the match. So Joe, stop beating around the bush and tell us your man of the match.
My man of the match is Gully for losing the halftime race, which I was gutted about. No, it's not Gully. My man of the match is it's really difficult. I'm going to give it to Evan Ferguson because I think if he hadn't have come off, he would have got that hat trick, and that makes, in my mind, makes you automatic man of the match. And if it wasn't for Evan, would we have been that prolific in front of the goal when we needed to be? And yeah, he sent us on our way to Wembley. So Evan Ferguson, man of the match for me.
Very strong candidate. Chloe, do you agree?
I do agree. Yeah, I would go with Ferguson. I was a bit devastated when he came off. I wanted him to get a hat trick, but no, he scored 2 great goals, and yeah, just really complete striker, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, full house, brilliant performance from the young man. I know we keep saying it, but 18 years of age, my goodness, he's going to be.
There you go, Evan. There's your hat trick.
Yeah, there's your hat trick. You get a hat trick of us 3 giving you man of the match. But yeah, he's just what a player. What a player. He's just going to do bits for years to come. You know, I mean, he seems to have got. I mean, I'll hold my hands up, guys, because when he first became our regular starter, I was very concerned that we'd see a repeat of his countryman Aaron Connolly, and you know, we've had none of that. His attitude has been superb. His professionalism has been superb when he has been dropped to the bench, or you know, he's not let that get to him, and he's always given a really, really good account of himself. And I think, you know, he's just done so well this season, and I really hope he bags some more in the Premier League. Because yeah, the world's his oyster. It really, really is. Really, really is. So then let's talk about the semi-final that we're all going to then, folks, because not only did we play yesterday, we also had the Fulham Manchester United game yesterday, which, as I've already alluded to, Fulham completely capitulated. They were 1-0 up and it all went haywire, getting 2 players sent off, as well as their coach on the sideline lines. They went on to lose the game. I believe the score in the end was 3-1. Joe, Manchester United or Fulham, which one would you have preferred?
Man United.
Any reason as to why?
I just don't like playing Fulham. We haven't beaten Fulham since we've been in the Premier League. And I don't like their antics from when we played them at the Amex, which was disappointing because when we played them at Craven Cottage, I thought they were unbelievably good. Like, I was extremely frustrated with how the game went for us, but watching Fulham, I was like, bloody hell, these have just come up. You expect Fulham to be a yo-yo team like Norwich at the moment, but they really impressed me, and I was like, bloody hell, we've got some stiff competition if we want to stay within those fighting for Europe places, because I really believed that Fulham would be up there with us. And then when they came to the Amex, their game plan was just disgraceful. So I wasn't really excited by a prospect of playing them at Wembley, because considering the antics they gave Man United yesterday and the referee, you would expect that they would give similar. I think against United we have a better chance because we've got a really good record against United. And I know that seems mad, me saying that I expect us to maybe put on a really good performance and really go toe to toe with Manchester United, but we can do that. We beat them at Old Trafford at the start of the season. I get that they were in the transition period with Erik ten Hag, but Roberto De Zerbi hasn't played them yet, and they haven't come up against the new look Brighton Hove Albion, not under Graham Potter. So it will be a really interesting game, and maybe we'll get some long due revenge for 40 years ago at Wembley. So yeah, Brighton versus Manchester United is more of an occasion than it would have been Brighton versus Fulham. So it's going to be a really special day.
It really will be, and I think the one thing that gives me a bit more confidence going up against Manchester United is Pascal Gross. Chloe, Manchester United in the semi-final. Are you pleased that was the draw instead of Fulham? Do you think that Manchester United might attack us a bit more, which in a roundabout way actually suits us a little bit better because we can then play our game plan as well? What do you make of the semi-final?
Honestly, I wasn't sure who I wanted. You think Fulham aren't a top 6 club, so they should be easier to beat. But the way they play is just so negative, anti-football, and they do seem to be our bogey team. So the idea of facing them did make me nervous. But then I do think United on their day are very difficult to play against. But so are we. We put on a good performance. There's no reason we can't win that game. So yeah, I think either of the teams we can beat. And I just really hope we do and get to the final. But I do think it might be tough. It depends which United turn up, because if they play how they did against Fulham, then we can beat them. No problem.
I think the antics as well work in our favour that happened at Old Trafford. That there's even talks of Mitrovic getting a 10-game ban for his behaviour towards the referee, which was absolutely despicable. By the way, like I've never seen that happen to
I think
a
the
referee.
only time I've seen that happen was Paolo Di Canio.
Well, there you go.
Way back.
How many match when Ashley Barnes tripped the referee up? How many matches was he banned for?
I can't
I
remember
that. He didn't trip the
It
referee.
was
The referee
quite a long ban, wasn't it?
I think it was it 5 games? Something like that.
Yeah.
It was a good couple of games. I remember. I just thank you, Chloe, because that's jogged my memory.
Yeah, I think that could play into our hands, because they've lost Willian for however many games that'll be. They've lost their coach for however many games that'll be, and Mitrovic, as we say, if that's a 10-game ban, they've lost their talisman. So that'll work well for us in the league as well. So, cheers, Fulham.
Yeah, it has worked out quite well for us because, as you say, Joe, they've lost some key players as well as their coach. But as we've learned, actually, Roberto De Zerbi has seen quite a lot of goals from our West Stand, where he's been sat for the last couple of games when he's not been allowed on the touchline because of his antics.
Did you see the quote where he said he thinks he's going to have to get a season ticket? I love that.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I mean, but it just goes to show you the football that he's got us playing. We know how to play intrinsically, whether he's in the stands or whether he's on the touchline there. So, it's been a fantastic run for Roberto De Zerbi's Seagulls. And to do that in your first, well, not even full season, half a season in the Premier League is wonderful. Having a team that's never, who's only ever finished once in the top 10 of the Premier League once before. And also getting to the second semi-final in 4 years, it's monumental. And I think a huge credit has to be given to not only the players, not only Roberto De Zerbi, but also for Tony Bloom and Paul Barber. And happy birthday, Mr. Bloom, by the way, because it is your birthday today on the night of recording, which is Monday the 20th of March. There was a bit in the commentary that I actually meant to bring up a bit earlier, where they said they were talking about bringing in Roberto De Zerbi, and they said that some people might find it offensive that even though they've already got a manager or a coach, the people higher up, the Paul Barbers of the world, the Tony Blooms of the world, are already looking for their replacement. And, I saw something else about Paul Barber saying that he's dreading that phone call that is eventually going to come to try and pry Roberto De Zerbi away. But it just goes to show you how well run our club is, that we were able to lose what we all thought was the best manager we had ever had, and we've brought in one of the best managers we've ever had. And it's just so thank you, Mr. Bloom, thank you, Mr. Barber, thank you, Mr. De Zerbi, and thank you, Brighton and Hove Albion players, because you are giving us one hell of a season. And we get a little bit of a break from it now, which makes me sad, because football is life. Life without football is sad. So we come back against Brentford, I believe. That is our first game back. And now, Chloe, that's going to be a hell of a game as well, because Brentford really pushing for those European spots. I know it's a couple of weeks away, perhaps hard to get your head around, but it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, I mean, Brentford are a really good side. Obviously, they beat us at their place earlier on in the season. On my birthday, that was pleasant. Yeah, I think they're a difficult side to play. I mean, on our day, we can beat anyone, and I do think they play proper football. So maybe that will benefit us. So hopefully we can get a result. 6-pointer in it.
Yeah, Joe, just a really quick word then on Brentford after the international break. Tough game coming up. We've been saying this a lot recently. It could be one of those games that we look back on and say, this is one of the games that made our season, especially because it's about beating the teams that are, around you, isn't it?
Yeah, 100% a must win, obviously. It's going to be cagey. The players are going to know what this is going to mean. As Chloe said, it's a 6-pointer. And I believe, got 1 or 2 games in hand on Brentford. I think it's 1. So it's really important that we win that game and just open up that gap, which we seem to have been tying on points with Brentford for ages, or been there or thereabouts, or sort of swapping places for 7th and 8th. So that's going to be the real one that makes it. Playing them on April Fool's Day as well. I don't know how that's going to sit with you guys, but it doesn't sit well with me. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I'm confident, as Chloe says, they play proper football. They're a really well drilled side. Thomas Frank has been absolutely phenomenal for them. I really admire Thomas Frank as a coach. So it's going to be so difficult. But I'm confident that we can come out on top and push, because I really feel like the players have had a switch in mentality. I know we haven't been playing overly well, and I think it was Aaron that pointed out yesterday, we're looking really poor again, but we still seem to be getting results, or a point here or 3 points there, whether they're undeserved points. They all count at the end of the season. And they're the moments that switch a season for you. If you're not playing well and you're still picking up points, you're going to achieve something special. So I think the players have had it well drilled into them what we can achieve. It's just whether we've got the bottle to achieve that.
Let's hope that we do, and let's hope we, as I say, kick on with this truly remarkable season. What a season it has been, from losing our coach to getting a new one and getting to Wembley. Whew. You could write a book about it. But that is all from us at Albion Obsessed. Thank you very much for joining us this evening, Joe and Chloe, and thank you to listeners and viewers as well. Don't forget to leave us some comments down below. What do you think about the game against Manchester United? Do you think it is winnable? Is it a more favourable draw, perhaps, than Fulham? Let us know your thoughts down below, as I say. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content if you haven't done so already, wherever you may be, whenever you may be. We are on our way. We're on our way. We're on our way to Wembley. We're on our way. And that is all I'm going to leave you with. Take care, guys.